And today I want to talk to you about overwhelm and very much specifically share something that I'm currently going through. And I had this experience that overwhelm sort of tried to pop back in. And I went through my processes and the things that I love sharing about. And I'll mention some episodes that I actually gave you my, step by step way to really, deal with overwhelm. And I was actually able to really make significant progress within the course of like 48 hours. So I feel really inspired to share this with you as well. So I'm going to give you the context, first of all, and then really share how I was able to transcend this very intense feeling that was trying to basically overtake me. So I have talked about overwhelm in the podcast before, and I will link those below in the show notes. But I've talked about overwhelm on episodes 70, 147 and 196. And those episodes are more the processes and the step by step. Whereas today, I want to give you a real life example and a little bit more like practical. This is what I did this time around in case it inspires you too. But, there's this normal tendency as we age as women that, our emotions shift and we feel our feelings a little bit differently. And overwhelm is very commonly, a reaction or an emotional reaction that women share a lot with me that they feel, especially as we enter perimenopause and then later into postmenopause. And it has certainly been my experience as well that I can get into overwhelmed territory a lot more easier. Like my emotional resilience has definitely diminished a little bit with age, which is, totally fine. And this experience was one that could actually have really taken me over and it could have become a real big thing. So that's why I'm sharing here because I was able to sort of like, tackle it 2 days in. So to give you the context, what it was, so I am behind the scenes working on I would say a pretty significant project in my business, in a way, rebuilding the entire infrastructure while bringing in quite a few new aligned offers, shifting how we deliver, shifting how our team operates. So I'm talking like a major. And it's interesting. I'll just give you a quick little side track note here that it's for some reason, I think that's how I normally operate. I find a little bit of a spark, something small. So when I first redecorated my office before we did renovations, and now I have a lot more space, but my first office, virtual office, it kind of started like, I saw this beautiful lamp and matching pillow back in the day when Target was still in Canada, which is no longer the case. And I purchased a lamp and a pillow. And that was such a spark that we ended up at IKEA. And then hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars later, I got a new desk, new chair, new furniture, and boom, the whole thing was redesigned. And my husband jokes to this day that that was the most expensive 17.99 pillow he ever bought for me, which is probably true. Then, go back like just like a few weeks from the recording of this, and I was, changing again the upstairs office from which I'm recording this episode right now. And I had this one idea of shifting some furniture around the house and something from my basement office and so on. So 22 hours later, and this is not an exaggeration, everything was done, meaning I took closets apart and boxes of textbooks. It was just so something tiny, as in, I'm just going to shift this table around, became this massive undertaking. And I love it now. The results are fantastic. But it's kind of like how usually I operate. I have a little spark, I get inspired, and then something really big comes out of it. And that is what led to today, this conversation that I had this idea, this spark that I wanted to bring this one new thing to the business. But for that thing to feel really aligned, I wanted this other few things. And by the time that I started dreaming and mapping and strategizing, the plan became this enormous, enormous plan, you know, timed into calendars for the next like 2.5 months and, craziness. And probably 2.5 months is even super ambitious, but I tend to be very optimistic when it comes to timing. And then, life humbles me a little bit, but we'll see. But it's interesting to me because at first, when I first started, so I mapped this plan, I'm incredibly excited. All the new things coming for the business are very, I would say, special in how we already serve the women in weight release using functional DNA testing. But I'm bringing a whole layer now to offer the services at different tiers and price points to help more women meet you where you are in your journey and still give you incredible results, even if you're not in a position yet to work with us on a long-term basis. And with that very deep desire in my heart, it became almost like the vision just became so clear of the new things I wanted to add and the new events that we're going to be hosting each month and just bringing joy and fun and deep, deep support to weight release, which, any weight loss journey can feel so difficult and lonely, especially if you are or have been in this journey for a while. And we really work with women long term. We're here for the long haul until you hit a tipping point and you get the results you want. So I wanted to continue to do that. And on top of it, do all these other wonderful things. Anyways, long story short, I went from having this beautiful vision and plan to then having 2 days of that basically my brain decided to just go into panic mode because I have this ability to really see very deep in the future, and my brain could map out all the work, the hundreds and hundreds of hours that will be involved. Essentially, you're flying a plane, you have a business that's structured, running, settled, and then I decide to, I don't know, renovate the airplane as it is flying. That's kind of what my brain was feeling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be a lot of work and scheduling everything to fit within team schedules and holidays and my own personal life. And it was just a thing. But then what I did, when I realized that I was getting into overwhelm, I did the two things that I normally do. The first thing, and again, this may not be your process, right? But this is what I went through. I'm a verbal processor. So I invited my husband to go for a walk with me because I needed to process the overwhelm. And as we're walking, so we're walking, I'm talking, 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 talking. And my poor husband, I don't even know how much of it he was actually following because this is just this massive vision in my head. He may not even have had the full context, but he was a trooper just listening to me and letting me go. And by the time that we finished the walk, which was a decent walk, or at least we walked maybe like 30-ish minutes, as we get to the house, I said to him, this is not even half of it. And he went, "Oh my gosh." So I thought, okay, this is a problem, right? Like this may be too much. But then the second thing that I decided to do is very much recognize that something feels overwhelming because it is feedback. There's something in us, in our inner intelligence that knows it. And I truly believe that no goal is impossible, but timelines and expectations are. So in my case, what was happening is that I was putting a level of pressure completely self-imposed on myself of when I wanted some things done and completed that were just not possible for a human being with 24 hours in a day, even with the support of a team and so on. It was just too much at once. And that was enough for me to really pause and prioritize, which is something I talk a lot in my work, but sometimes we get caught up ourselves in our own process. So prioritize what is most important to what is, let's just say, more bells and whistles, good to haves. And from that process, I was able to build a more realistic schedule of implementation of the components now in an order that will actually make the most impact and best serve all of you without necessarily driving me absolutely crazy to meet my own deadlines. And from having this more not so much flexible, but more aligned schedule. That alone already calmed me a little bit. So one of the first things I would recommend to you is whatever way you process, like in my case, the talking to my husband was to stir it up so I could actually say it out loud. Wow, this is what is happening and overwhelming me. Again, in my case, it was self-imposed, but not always. The second step that I took was to say, okay, what is actually the real problem? What is actually overwhelming me? And I realized it was timeline. So I went back and revisited that and reprioritize things based on what actually was important rather than all the things I wanted to be important, and have it right away, realizing, time is what it is. Can fight reality, apparently. And then the next thing that I did is that when that was more clear and more structured, then I actually created visuals. I'm a very visual person and presented it to some of my clients, my group coaching. And as I'm presenting to others, this is what we're here doing for you and getting excited about, just even giving the feedback and just seeing other people share the vision and get excited for it. It was just really beneficial to me. It almost like anchored it in. And I felt I had like more certainty. I was very aligned that yes, these things are well received. Women are excited about, we want to do this. Let's do this. And now, and I shifted from being overwhelmed and how much work is ahead, which is still the case, to now being very excited about the work because I legitimately love what I've been doing and getting deeper and deeper into alignment with how I like to work best, how I like to serve best. And I love things organized and streamlined. I really value your experience as a client or as a customer, as a user of my services and products. And those are the things that I have the opportunity now to invest in improving and continue to enhance. I've always had this focus, but now it's like a super focus. And just seeing like the small results already of, a few days, a few things we've been putting together is just so incredible. So I could have just, gone deep down into my pit of overwhelm and just maybe even like pull the plug or I don't know, not done something, because overwhelm is often, I say this often, is a strategy of the mind. It's telling you something. So what I did instead is pause and listen. Okay, if that's the case, what is the strategy? What are you trying to help me avoid, prevent? What are you protecting me from? And once I realized what it was, I found what is the problem behind the problem timeline, right? That was my self-imposed, desire to have everything done yesterday. Yes, I'm usually very impatient for some reason, or all the reasons, and really shifting what the actual real problem was rather than just blaming the problem as overwhelm, which is almost like this catch-all net at the front when we're not actually clear what we're reacting to because your body's just giving you feedback and feedback is valuable. Right. So now that I have a more implementable plan, I have other people that are basically, testing and proving that we want this is cool. Now I'm in back into inspiration with a good plan in front of me. And my job is to just stay aligned and execute. And that I can do. So anyway, so I just wanted to share this with you a little behind the scenes of what is going on. And in terms of what you can look forward to, right? Just to give you a little sneak peek as well before, big announcements. I'm really looking to bring at least hopefully once a month, something fun, something creative, like an event or something that you can participate in some way so that it can be part of our world and really make weight release part of your life, even if you're not yet ready for testing your DNA. If you are, oh my gosh, we have so many options for you now. But if not, I still want to serve you and give you a flavor of weight release and how you can do this differently. Okay. Especially if you tried everything before and you're really tired of those empty promises. And like we do none of that, like we operate very differently. I often say if nothing you try works, we need to look at your DNA. That's what the answer is. But if that's not yet possible for you, there's so much we can do to bridge that gap. Okay. So our very first event that's coming up, that is going to be released mid-August. So we're about Yeah, we're just like end of July now. So we're, about a few weeks out, about 3 or so weeks out. And that event is going to be a celebration of this podcast turning 4 years old. I can't believe it has been 206 weeks since we first started chatting weekly. And if you're new here, welcome. And we're doing a incredible, very special event, and I'm announcing it next week. So I'll keep a secret for now, but it is probably one of the most fulfilling events with the most inspiring women that I'm collaborating with, and I'm so excited to share that with you. So that is coming in August. We have something amazing planned for September, which is a surprise for now, but more details will be coming soon. And that is on top of all the other ways that we're going to be serving you through my private coaching. If you really want me helping you uncover your genetics and create a custom plan based on your body's blueprint. The second option is really our self-study weight release course that does have the DNA component to it as an option for you to add in, as well as group coaching with myself. And the other option that we're going to be adding in, very near future or smaller offers, mini courses and workbooks and self-study, do yourself type of resources that can actually really make significant progress in your life without the bigger commitment of the other two containers. So I'm going to put the links below of the different, containers now. So if you want to get familiar with what are the options, and of course, we're going to keep announcing on the podcast all the new things, and stay tuned for next Friday when I'm going to reveal what the big surprise for August is. And I cannot wait to share with you. I hope as many women as possible join us to make this super fun and super rewarding for all of you. So that is it for today. And I will chat with you again next time.